Today we are going to crochet a Great Bear duffel bag for autumn and winter. We use brown milk cotton for the main body. We use a brown milk cotton bag for the portable part. The hole is double crochet. Next we start crocheting. The body part of the bag is made of brown wire. First tie a slip knot on your finger. Crochet hook into several loops. Purchase 48 braid needles. After 48 braids are crocheted, let's go ahead and crochet a standing stitch. Then return to the penultimate stitch. From the center of the braid, crochet a short stitch through the needle outward. Next, crochet a short stitch in each stitch. 48 short stitches are crocheted in the first row. After 48 short needles are crocheted, we crochet 3 auspicious stitches. Then turn the paper over. Continue to crochet the second row at the back. Through the winding. Crochet a long needle in the second stitch. Make a mark on the first stitch crocheted. Then crochet back to the first stitch. Crochet 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. Then crochet. Drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. Such a pattern is completed. Then we crochet. Second pattern. Find the next 2 needles. Thread the crochet thread into the second stitch first. Crochet a long needle. Then the crochet loop is returned to the first stitch. Knit 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. The coil should be pulled the same length. Then crochet. Drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. This completes the second pattern. Next we follow the same method. Finish this row. I know there are 2 last stitches left. The purpose can be the same as needle winding. Go through the last hole first. Crochet a long needle. Then crochet a loop back to the previous stitch. Crochet 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. Crochet winding, drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. Then crochet 3 stitches. Flip the fabric over the hook. Knit the second circle pattern. The hook method of the second circle pattern is the same as the first circle. We can see every styling stitch. The top corresponds to the 2 needles. Thread the crochet thread into the second stitch first. Crochet a long needle. Then the crochet loop is returned to the previous stitch. Crochet 3 finished medium length stitches. Drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. Then crochet the second pattern. Thread the second needle first. Crochet a long needle. Then the crochet loop is returned to the previous stitch. Crochet 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. Winding, drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. According to this rule, complete the second circle pattern. Then crochet 3 braid stitches. Flip the fabric over. Just keep crocheting 2 rows of patterns as a group. In total, we need to tick out such 7 groups of 1, 2, 3, 4. After 5, 6, 7 crochet such 7 sets of body hooks. We crochet a lucky needle. Then screw the tab to the side. We need to install zippers on both sides. After crocheting, because it is wavy, so we're going to use a short stitch to wrap around the edge. Make it flatter. Thread back to the same stitch at the edge first. Crochet a brief. The second needle is farther away, so we can add a stitch to the second stitch. In the second needle, we crochet 2 short stitches. The third needle is closer, so we knit a short stitch in the third stitch. The fourth needle end is closer, so knit a short stitch. The next needle is farther away, so we knit 2 short stitches. We follow this rule. What about needles that are farther away? Crochet 2 end stitches with the same eyelet. What about the closer needles? We crochet a short stitch. Next, we follow this rule on both sides. The edges are wrapped around the edges with a short needle. Next, by the brown line of the bear's face. The video is a bit unclear. You can use rose pink to show everyone. You first put 2 rings on your fingers. Then crochet the needle into the loop. Knit a loop. Then crochet 6 short stitches inside the starting loop. Mark the first stitch with a marker button. Then tighten the needle ring. Crochet a puller needle connection with the first stitch. Then crochet a standing stitch. Let's start crocheting the second loop. The second circle is in each stitch. Add a stitch. Knit 2 short stitches in each hole. Second lap. Add 1 stitch to each hole. After crocheting, we crochet a leading needle with the first needle. Then crochet a standing stitch. We start crocheting the third loop. In the third circle, we follow every other stitch. Add a stitch rule to tick. Knit a short stitch in the first stitch. Add a stitch to the second stitch. Knit a short stitch in the third stitch. The fourth dip is added to the ink. In this way, the effect of adding a stitch every other stitch is formed. We follow this rule. Finish the third loop. Add 1 stitch every other stitch in the third circle. We crochet. Next, in the first stitch, crochet a puller needle. Crochet another stand-up stitch. We start crocheting the fourth loop. In the fourth lap, we are in accordance with the interval of 2 needle plus 1 stitch rule to tick. First needle, a short needle. Second stitch, a short stitch. Add a stitch to the third stitch. Fourth stitch, 1 short stitch. Fifth stitch, 1 short stitch. Add 1 stitch to the sixth stitch. In this way, we form every 2 stitches plus 1 stitch. The rule of adding 1 stitch every 2 stitches. We follow this rule to finish the fourth circle. After the fourth loop is crocheted, we crochet a leading needle with the first needle. Then crochet a standing stitch. Next we crochet the fifth loop. The rule of the fifth circle is to add 1 stitch every 3 stitches. The sixth circle is to add 1 stitch every 4 stitches. In the seventh circle, add 1 stitch every 5 stitches. The eighth circle is hooked according to the rule of every 6 stitches plus 1 stitch. Then continue to hook according to the rules. Knit to the eighth circle. After the eighth loop is crocheted, our face is done. Our face is knitted in 2 pieces in the same way. And what about our nose and face? The weaving method is similar. It's just 2 loops. Knit only 2 circles according to the method of the face. Let's turn our noses over. Back as front. Embroider the nose shape with brown thread. Show off a triangle. Then under the nose, embroider a vertical line. Then sew the nose to the center of the face. Sew eyes on both sides of nose. After the face is done, we cut out grid boards of about the same size. Circle around the edge and slice the edge. The stitches are the same as the body. Sew on grid board. Zip sewn on both sides. Want to be more refined? Can also be tied with a layer of lining. Next, install the slider on the zipper. Fixed suture on both sides. Next, sew the face and body together. Have to be aware of is, the center of our 2 eyes must be, corresponds to our zipper part. 2 line. When we sew, the face is only half a needle inside. The body of the bag is to provoke the whole braid. Half needle inside the branch of the face. The blade picks up the whole braid. Stitched like this. Sew the other side up. After assembly, we start crocheting the hand part. For the portable part, we use a brown thread. First, tie a slip knot on your finger. Thread the crochet into the loop. Crochet 4 braid stitches. Continue to crochet 3 braid stitches. As a standing needle. Needle winding. Turn back to the penultimate stitch. Crochet a long needle. Then the crochet loop is returned to the previous stitch. Crochet 3 unfinished medium and long needles. The pattern here is the same as the pattern in our body part. Now there are the last 2 stitches left. Thread hook into the last needle. Crochet a long needle. Then the crochet loop is returned to the previous stitch. Crochet 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. Then crochet. Drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. So we're good enough for the first row. Then crochet 3 stand-up stitches. Flip the paper over. Thread the crochet thread into the second stitch. Crochet a long needle. Crochet a loop back to the previous stitch. Knit 3 unfinished medium and long stitches. Crochet winding, drag out all the loops on the crochet hook at once. The next method is the same. And then proceed with the hook according to this method. It's woven to the right length. I probably acquired about 180 lines or so. Stitching the joints on both sides of the two sides. After the stitching is good, we tiled it up on top of the table. Put the bag, and put it on it. And then it's a bit more of a. Probably the middle is a stay of 4 rows. There are 3 rows of each of the two sides. Fix the position well with a positioning pin. It is convenient for stitching. The next one is sewn along the edges. It doesn't need to be too compact when stitching. The spacing can be a bit bigger. As long as it's guaranteed not to miss the line, it's okay. Both sides of the edges are required to be sewn and fixed.